You
Hello,
get
Stuart.
there.
This
You
is the
go.
first time we've actually met,
It is
sort of
indeed. Hello, Faye.
almost in person.
It is.
I'm going to hand you over to Alan now.
Yes.
Let me
Thanks
just...
for setting this up as well, Faye. You're awesome.
A pleasure.
Stuart, hi.
Alan, how if my voice is a little hoarse, it's because I've been singing along to I've Got a Crush on Suzie K probably the past 20 minutes. So
Bless you. And now that you've asked me to do a dad joke straight away,
have I?
your voice is a little hoarse. That makes it a pony.
That's good. Is the comedy for free or do I have to pay extra for that? Is that
No, there's a small fee.
small fee, not a problem. I will PayPal it up because it's worth every penny that joke. How are you this morning?
I'm really well. I flew in last night to the UK, so we did the usual thing of going to sleep about midnight and waking up at 5:30. So that's all fine. Things will settle down fairly quickly.
Always funny. Do you suffer from the old jet lag then, or are you sort of
Well,
used to it?
I actually have a flight that comes out of Australia at 5:15 in the morning and lands here on the same day at 7:45. So provided you sleep enough on the flight,
Yeah.
you often feel like it's a normal day. So we'll just see how I go tonight. The problem is waking up in the middle of the night. If you wake up at 3 in the morning, you're probably not going back to sleep.
And how's the weather difference from where you came from to where you are now?
Well, because you're having slightly unseasonably warm weather here in the UK.
Yeah.
It's beautiful out here in London today, and in Australia we're having kind of unseasonably warm weather. It means that spring and autumn in both those countries kind of mirror each other.
Yeah.
So Australia at the moment Australia is just a tiny bit colder than it is here.
Yeah. It's like here in the UK, we lose our minds if it's sunny for like 3-4 days. We're all like, we're going to die. Yeah. The sun's out. Quick, drink water and keep all the animals inside. Whereas I've been to Australia and they're like, oh, it's only 50 degrees. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll go around in shorts and t-shirt. It's definitely more chilled emotionally in Australia, which I like.
It is. Of course, Australia is a country of massive extremes. We had the worst flooding we've ever had the year before last. And of course, we're now expecting some of the worst bushfire season. So, like the rest of the world, we're seeing catastrophic weather events. And our planet is changing. There's no question.
But you're originally from Perth, aren't you? Still in Perth, or are you?
No. I live in Melbourne, where Neighbours is filmed. Perth was a wonderful place to grow up. It was a small city. It was very small suburb. So where I grew up in, and life was very hedonistic. We just go to the beach and surf and swim, and it was wonderful. But if you want to work as an actor, you really kind of need to be in the centre of it all, which is Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane and so forth.
And you've done pretty impressively well as an actor. So there's not many people that have worked on the same show for like 28 years. Oh, actually, it will end up being more than 28 years, won't it? Because Neighbours is coming back now. So.
Indeed. I don't know how. I'll have to find a way to do the math, but at some stage in 2024, Jackie and I will be up to 30 years, as will Ryan Maloney, who's just behind us. I believe I am the third longest serving soap actor in Australia.
Wow.
After two people from Home and Away. So that's an honour in itself. Yeah. But of course, the beautiful thing about doing a show like Neighbours is you don't do it every week of the year. You have quite large periods where you're not working. So you're able to do other things. So I've had the pleasure of working here many times, doing pantomimes. And of course, my music takes me all over the country as well.
See, I heard the single was coming out because Faye said, oh, Alan's got this song. I'm like, oh, he's another Neighbours person that's just going to try his hand at music. Let me have a look at this. I had the Stephen Dennis single years ago. I had the Craig McLaughlin one. I had the Jason Donovan out. So I'm like, oh, Alan's joined that group, has he? No, you've been doing music for years. So
yes, indeed.
Did acting come before? Did acting come before music?
Well, for me, music theatre was a big thing. So when I was working on the stage a lot in the 80s, I did a lot of music theatre, and then even into the 90s, I was still doing music theatre. Woven into Neighbours. But I started a rock band in 2004 called Waiting Room, and that toured the UK many times. I think we did 10 tours. It was very successful. The uni students in particular loved it, doing a lot of rock and roll covers and some originals. And just recently, I've moved into Americana music, which I love. I don't have aspirations to try and sort of be top of the pops. That's not my thing. The Americana folk music is much more niche and I'm much more interested in. I find Stuart interestingly. My demographic for the sort of music I'm playing is 35 plus, and Americana in particular is massively popular with older people. It's a very sort of thoughtful folk orientated style of music, but I love to mix it up with some comedy. So in there, I've got songs about my love of beer and my love of bed, called "How Good Is Bed," things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't take myself too seriously, and yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this next incarnation of my music.
And I've been browsing your website, which I have on my nice big screen. I'm not going to tilt the laptop because I'll ruin this wonderful angle. But there's so much stuff on your. Yeah, how do you find time to sleep? That would be one of my questions, because you are, one hell of a career and a lot of different hats that you wear, musician.
Yeah,
acting.
thank you. I think it's the variety that's kept me going. I mean, it's the variety stimulates me to stay on Neighbours, and it stimulates me to do my best on Neighbours because I get breaks and I get a change of scene and so forth, and get to do different things. It means it revitalizes me to go back to Neighbours when I do. So yeah, thank you for the compliment. I do seem very busy. I do get some downtime, but I enjoy being busy. I particularly enjoy writing music, writing songs and recording them, and of course performing live. I did a music tour in the UK in March, April. And I'm coming back next year, hopefully in July, to do another 4-week tour.
Nice. Well, if you're up in my neck of the woods, which is like near Manchester, whatever, I'll come and wave and
lovely.
Check out more of your stuff and whatnot.
So we had a lovely gig in Bury last time I was up your way.
That is probably 20 minutes down the road from me.
There you go.
Yeah, Bury's not too far. Whenever I go to Manchester, I pass through Bury. So yeah, definitely. If you're back in Bury, I'll come and buy you a drink. So this latest single, obviously it's a love letter to not only just Suzie, but Neighbours itself. So where did the idea for that single? I noticed that it said that you'd been playing it a lot on something called the Neighbours Celebration Tour, and everybody seemed to love it. So does that tie into the decision to release it as a single?
Very much so, because social media, particularly Facebook, all the Facebook groups, Neighbours Facebook groups, were basically pleading with me to release it, because everyone wanted to be able to have it on their phones and so forth. So it's now available on all the streaming platforms, all the obvious ones, the big ones, and of course it's also on a CD. I always I've got a CD of all my comedy songs called "The Lighter Side of Alan Fletcher," which is on my website in the shop if people want a hard copy. Sometimes people like to have hard copies of these things, so it's available everywhere. I hope people will have a listen, because it's tongue in cheek, it's fun, but it's also reverent, because Susan Kennedy is very much the queen of Ramsay Street, in my opinion, and many people's opinion. And during this celebration tour, we actually used this song to introduce her to the stage, and the people went nuts for her and for the song. So it's great that it's out there now.
What did Jackie, who plays Suzie in the show, what did she think of the song? Did you tell her it was going to be done before you played it to her, or did she hear it? And what was Jackie's reaction?
Yeah, no, she knows the song well. In fact, I think on one of my recent posts, on one of my recent stories, we had some footage of Jackie in the wings waiting to come on, dancing to the song about her. She loves it. She's very supportive of it, and it's got some lovely cover art which I created using a photograph of Jackie, which of course she is approved of as well. I think anybody who is a major TV character would be quite flattered that someone wrote a song about how much the world loves them.
Of course. I mean, you mentioned a couple of times, you used the word comedy, and it's a funny song, but it's also really sweet. I think it tiptoes perfectly between an emotional, sweet, genuine love song and also a light-hearted comedic song.
Yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous lines like, like a disease without a remedy, I've got a crush on Susan Kennedy. I mean, I don't know whether anyone's done that rhyme before.
The
interesting thing is, of course, that fans love Susan Kennedy so much that I think they relate to the song, because the song is from a fan perspective. And everyone can imagine themselves being that fan. Loving Susan Kennedy that much, and Yeah, there's another line I particularly love where Karl's, where I've written, they called her a Kinski, but I'll never agree. She'll always be a Kennedy to me.
Yeah.
And just things like that the fans really relate to because it evokes history of Neighbours as well.
Now, how long did it take to come up with the lyrics? Because it's very poetic, and like some of the lines you've just done, that's well crafted in my
Thank you.
my humble opinion.
Well, I actually created the song, a song called "I've Got a Crush on Dr. Karl," was created by myself and a couple of other guys way back for a podcast show, and it was kind of tongue in cheek. And I said to them, "Look, I wouldn't ever, release this or do anything with it. I'd like to make it. I've got a crush on Suzie K." So I took a lot of inspiration from that writing session way back then and flipped the lyrics around to be about Suzie K. So they are co-writers on the song, and it found the right incarnation, I think.
I was thinking before you mentioned there was a Karl Kennedy song, thinking maybe Jackie's going to get a bit of revenge and she's going to write "I've Got a Crush on Karl K." At some point there might have been a song coming out, but sounds like somebody's beat her to it.
Yeah, no, I think if Susan Kennedy was going to write a song about Karl Kennedy, it'd be a bit more about my husband is a complete duffer, but I love him.
And we're going to be together on screen again soon.
Yes, absolutely.
So what was that like? I mean, I was watching Neighbours at the very, very beginning. I was like a 14-year-old kid or whatever when we got it over here. And I dipped out for a few years because life gets in the way and all that sort of stuff. But I was there for the finale, and it was really touching and heartwarming. And it was the end of an era. And a lot of people in the UK watched it. And they're like, this is an end of something that's been here all the time. And now it's coming back. So what's that feeling like? Obviously, on a work-related thing, it's great because it's like brilliant. But on a end of an era, beginning of a new era, what's that feeling like?
Well, it's almost like it is the total dream scenario, Stuart. I worked on a show that I loved dearly, that I thought was absolutely fantastic, but it had one slight hindrance on the show. A lot of people watched it at the BBC, and when it went across to Channel 5, a lot of people dropped away because they couldn't get Channel 5. And slowly over time, the audience, a lot of loyal audience slipped away. When the show was shown again at the final episode, 5.5 million Brits watched that episode cumulatively. And you go, that's 5.5 million people who I think would have watched the show and go, oh, hang on, this isn't a show about a girl with curly hair getting married. This is actually a modern TV show that is on a par with any other show I watch on Netflix or whatever. Yeah. And I hope that those 5.5 million, and I hope you too, Stuart, I'm counting on this. Mm-hmm. I hope those 5.5 million come back and watch this new chapter of Neighbours because it's fantastic. We've revitalised the sets. We've revitalised the way we shoot it. We've got new cast and old cast. It's the Neighbours that people know and love, but it's just fantastic. I know people are going to love it. The stories are brilliant. It's going to be worth a watch. And, of course, you can watch it on a streamer for free when you choose. So it couldn't be more perfect.
And it is going to be on Amazon. I have Amazon, so I have no excuses not to watch it. It's
Well, indeed, but it's also on a free app too, because Amazon Prime, of course, includes the app, but you can just download the app individually. It's Amazon Freebie, so it is possible to watch Neighbours without having to sign up to any, to pay anything. You'll get it if you're watching through Prime. It's very convenient, of course, and all your reruns will be on Prime. Plus, on Prime and Amazon Freebie, you can watch lots of old episodes going way back for people to dip their toes in, and many people have been doing that.
There is a friend of mine, Rob, who I podcast with, and his plan is to go back to the beginning and just watch as many episodes. I'm like, you do realise there's only 24 hours in a day and there's a lot of episodes of Neighbours, but he did say he's going to give it a go. So,
Well done to him. A few people have said they're doing that. In fact, one person is, I'm not sure what they do for a living, but they managed to get themselves through about the first 10 years. I'm not sure how they've done it. Wow. But there are 8,900 and something episodes to watch. Yeah. And each one's 23 minutes long. So if someone wants to do the math, it's a hell of a lot of hours.
And you've been in like 4,000 of those episodes, haven't you? If my memory serves me. Not that I counted them as I went along, but I sneakily looked at your IMDb a few days ago. But you've been in, a lot.
Indeed, a huge chunk of it, and that's a great honour as well. I mean, generally I do 3 episodes out of every 5. So, yes. having joined in episode 2300 and something, there's been a lot.
So what's next on your? I mean, you're over in the UK. Is this part Neighbours? I can't think of the word. It's back. The Neighbours is back. Whatever it is. Or is this music? Or is it both? You just multitasking like you do.
I'll be doing some music rehearsals while I'm here, but no, this is purely to publicise Neighbours and to promote Neighbours, and to promote. I've got a crush on Suzie K, and it's going to be a very enjoyable week because I've got Stefan Dennis is here, Georgie Stone, Tim Kano, and Rebecca Emiloglu who are going to also be here. Yeah. So we'll be all over your TVs, we'll be all over your websites and all over your radio stations. So hopefully people will hear us and want to come back and watch Neighbours.
That list of names you gave me just give me all nostalgia there. It's impressive stuff, which is part of the beauty of Neighbours, I think, for people my age and slightly younger and stuff. It's so I do hope they do revisit it and check it out, and because I think the world needs more smiles. It always needs smiles and happy feelings, but I think in a minute it needs lots. And I think your single is, it's the beginning of my day. Obviously, you're the same time zone as I am now, and it's just put me in a good mood and stuff. So it definitely works. So more power to you for that sort of stuff.
Thank you, Stuart. That really warms my heart and that makes my day. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
So as we always do, it's like pimp your stuff out. So all these show notes, like for your website and where people can purchase the album and stuff, I will put in the show notes for where this conversation goes. But so much better hearing it from yourself. So where can people find out more about you and more about I've Got a Crush on Suzie K and everything? Pimp yourself out, Alan.
Well, thank you. Well, my website is simply alanfletcher.net, and that's with one L. And on there, you'll find shop on there, Stuart, as we all have. And in there is all my music and lots of other fun Dr. Karl merchandise as well to excite fans. So hopefully they'll pop along to alanfletcher.net. And of course, I'm Alan Fletcher on all the socials as well.
And your alanfletcher.net is a great site. So whoever does your website, it looks fantastic. So
thank you very much.
But I'm going to let you go for now. But I'm going to wish you the very best for the rest of your Neighbours tour. Again, thank you to Faye for setting this up. I was very excited when she sent the email going, "How do you fancy talking to Alan?" I'm like, "Yes, please." Totally. So your music has given me a great start to my day. This conversation has also carried that on. So my day's all downhill from here. I hope yours is up. I hope yours is up. But
oh, bless you, Stuart. Really great to chat, and I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to do it again when I come back to do the next tour.
When I was growing up, I fell in love with a girl. Not a supermodel or glamorous at all. The bum with the most from an Aussie telly soap.